Hello, everyone. We are live, and today is Thursday, May 18th, and we have another awesome interview for you today. Oh, it's so exciting. I can't wait to get you to meet my guest today. But before we do that, let's take care of a few housekeeping tips. If you are joining us, please tell us where you're from. You know, I'm coming in from Mexico, where I live. My guest today is from the USA. We'll find out exactly where. Also, one of the most important things is above this video, you'll see a tag that says StreamYard. Would you click on that and allow StreamYard to use your name so that you don't come across as Facebook user? We know who you are, and that way we can interact with you. Okay, and so let's move on. Usually, I let you know what my guests and I have in common, where we've met. We, of course, met online. We're both entrepreneurs. We're actually both KBBers and Project Nexers. And for those of you who don't know what KBB is, that is the Knowledge Business Blueprint, and Project Next is the next level of the KBB course. And this was a new legacy that Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi started in 2019 with the idea that self education is the new norm. And so my guest, Rosie, took an already existing course, and she took this course to the next level. And what I did with it was I became an affiliate of Dean and Tony's and have been ever since. And of course, I love to promote their course and anything they do. And I do that because I help people who want to start an online business and don't know where to start and whom to trust. So it's a nice place to start. We definitely have the same mentors, Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins, Maya Comerota. And so without any further ado, let's meet my guest, Rosie Battista. Rosie, how are you? Wait a minute. There you are, Rosie. How are you?
Hi there, Lucy. Hi, everybody. I'm
So,
happy to be here with you, Lucy.
thank you, thank you. And I'm so happy that you could make it today. Tell me, where are you right now?
I
Where are
am
you
in New
coming in?
Jersey.
New Jersey. Now, were you born there?
No, I was born in New York, New York City, a
Okay.
borough of New York City, and then came out here to New Jersey across the bridge about 30 years ago.
Oh, wow, wow. It must be, living in or coming from New York must be such a wild thing. I just can
Wild.
imagine what a wild
It's a,
life that it might be.
it's a
Even
different thing.
being, I mean,
I'm
really,
from, yeah, I mean, I'm from Staten Island, so it's like we used to call it the forgotten borough. But
yeah,
it's definitely a unique. I always felt, even growing up, it was a very unique place.
absolutely.
So, and then there's just certain, like, I think maybe a feistiness from New York, right? Something.
Oh, definitely is that because I lived there for 3 years, and then when I moved to San Francisco, it was like, oh my God, going to the country. It's like,
Oh,
anybody alive here? I mean, everybody's
that's
so.
funny.
It was unbelievable.
That's funny.
So I want to talk a little bit about you and a little bit about your background. You just said that you moved to New Jersey about 30 years ago. Um, can you tell us, why, first of all, why did you move to New Jersey? Were you married? Were you having kids? Were you in a business?
Yeah. So at the time, I was just on my second marriage, and my then husband had a business on Staten Island. He wanted to get away from all the customers running into him when he was out in a restaurant. So
Right.
we wanted something different, and also there was better school systems out here for my kids. I had three
Mhm.
kids, and so that was the reason. And that is like the general progression of people, like they move from New York to New Jersey for like a more rural kind of a lifestyle.
Relaxed.
That was the move that we made.
Okay. Now, I understand, though, Rosa, that you've really been a lifelong entrepreneur. You've always been doing something. So you weren't just a mom and a wife.
Right.
Can you talk to us about where you got this feeling of entrepreneurship? I mean, I know New York has a lot of that, but,
Yeah. So um yeah, and it's funny now because I come up again in this entrepreneur world at this stage. A lot of people have come out of corporate and started their
Right.
new entrepreneurship journey, and I feel like, oh, I've been like at this for like ever,
Right.
because it was kind of like almost uh just a survival thing, I want to say, because my first husband was like, you watch the kids, I
Hmm.
work. So I was
Yep.
like, oh, well, that's not going to work for me. So I started to like do things, and I was so creative, and I would started to make things. So my first like really successful business was I made a line of baby hats, like to solve a problem for my own daughter, like a pretty hat that was also warm.
Right.
So my sister and I started to just like sew hats, and then people would stop us in the street. Like it literally started like that. They'd stop. Where'd you get that hat? They had like big bows, gorgeous. And
Oh,
so we're like,
wow.
oh, well, let's go to the local store and just see if she'll take them. And she was like, oh, yeah, I'll take a dozen. We
Oh,
sewed
wow.
them. And then we started to, like, there was no internet then to place anything. So
Right.
it was like knocking on doors, or there was something called a trade show. Then people were like, oh, you need to go to a trade show. And we had no idea what that even was.
Right. Right.
So we finally figured that out. And then we got into our first catalog. And then it was like, boom, all of a sudden we were in 400 stores, and we're still sewing them in our like living room with
Wow.
like bolts of fabric being delivered, and we're cutting and sewing. Like I'd be cutting things until my hands were like bleeding from
Oh,
cutting
my.
these things of fabric. And we
Hmm.
just had to figure it out all the way along. So again, I just kind of did it like working when the kids were sleeping, always like being able to take care of my children, which I'm so grateful for. And then also just filling in like really kind of never slept. I just do
Right.
myself when they were sleeping.
But that
Yeah.
was invigorating to you, right? Because you were
I loved it. Oh yeah.
you being an artist, you were being
That's right.
creative, and
Right.
then all of a sudden it all took off, and you were
Yeah.
in a wonderful place anyway to to be able to sell all of that in
Yeah. It
boutiques and
was it
whatnot.
was great. It was really
They were
great.
they weren't even called boutiques back then. Remember?
Right. Right.
So interesting, baby hats and bonnets. Oh wow, who would have thought? So
Right.
so you and your sister did well in that realm, and so how long did that go on for?
So we did that for about 6 years, and then we started to get into it was interesting because that's when things were like going off to China, and so people started to copy us and be able to make things cheaper. And so we kind of got behind the like we needed to have so much more capital in order
Right,
to, and then it was like the point in our lives where there were still the kids and stuff, so we weren't able to really scale it to the point
right,
of being able to keep up with the demand and the fabric and the cost of goods and all of that. And so then when online came, then I became a coach. Like I became a health coach, and then like a health spiritual coach. And I started in that realm as soon as online started, like right from the beginning of like, as soon as you can get right in the beginning when it was just all
wow.
starting. And then I wrote my book, and I had a cookbook and a journal, and then my first card deck. So that was like maybe 15 or 16 years ago. And
So
so just
well, so there was a progression
there
kind
was
of
a
thing. It just kind
progression,
of yeah.
right?
And
Right.
so did your sister go off in another
She did. She went off
direction?
and she went off into a business of like personalized items, like t-shirts and other items. And they're very
Hmm.
successful in their town and then also online.
Oh,
So she went
wonderful.
off and she did that, and she's still doing that.
And
So
so, why coaching? Rosie, because first of all, when I hear Tony Robbins talk, he tells a story that he really was the very first person to call himself a coach that wasn't
yeah,
outside of being a coach for sports, right? And so, and it sounds like you go back like 15, 20 years when it wasn't very common to be a coach.
yeah.
Not today. I mean,
Mhm. Everyone's
everybody.
right.
Yeah.
So really it was to heal myself, because I struggled with like with eating disorder. And
Okay.
then when I came upon this opportunity to go to this nutrition school, this holistic nutrition school, I'm like, well, I really just went to help myself. Like
Okay.
we like kind of we do that, right? So I went to help myself, and really like it's like, oh, I really like this. I need to help other people. And then I think when it really happened was so from that, I was doing a little coaching, but then so my story that I love to share is that for my 50th birthday, I like right before there were lots of stuff, like that dark night in my life of everything going wrong. And so the thing that I heard to do was to enter a figure competition. So for my 50th birthday, I entered a figure competition where you wear that little bling bikini on the stage. And I had to lose like 40 pounds, get into like fantastic shape, stand on that stage, prance around, all that. And that was it was my like a physical transformation, which I thought, but it was really a spiritual transformation. And then I knew, I'm like, I need to, like, I had the message, like, everything you need was already inside of you. You don't have to work hard for it. And then I'm like, oh, I need to like tell everybody that. Like I have to tell everybody. Everybody needs to know that everything's already inside of them. And so, then that really,
and so there was the spirituality part of it, because that's what people are learning right now. I mean, Tony talks about it all the time. Dean talks about it all the time. Maya
right.
talks about it all the time. It's all within us.
That's
We
right.
do know that, we're born with all of it. It's amazing to think
Yeah.
how powerful we are. I want to go back to the point at which you came across the KBB program and the Project Next program. When did that happen, and how did that fit into your, your trajectory way
Yeah.
of?
So the first KBB, when there was Tony and Dean sitting on the stage, and you can't never forget that because Tony's so big, and then he was in the chairs. It was like so funny. So
I know,
when
you're right.
so I had already started like to make a course
Right.
for my card decks, and let me tell you, it was hard. I mean, it was, oh my God, it was hard to do. I'm like, there has to be an easier way to do this. So we were watching whatever. My boyfriend's like an avid Tony person, like been following him forever and ever and ever. And so that came on and we're like, okay, we have to buy this. I remember sitting in bed. It was like, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. He comes up like, we have to buy this. And I'm like, okay, fine, we'll buy it. And then we never really did it. It just sat like, oh my God, how many people, like, I don't want to be the one to admit it, but how many people buy a course and don't do it? What the hell is about that? But anyway, that's what happened.
96% is what Dean
Oh
says. 96%.
We kept on saying we'll get to it. And then, how life gets in the way, right? So then it came around again and we watched the next one, whatever, and we bought that too. And then finally, oh my God, finally the Project Next that just, we did Time to Thrive and then it's a Project Next. And it was amazing. But I mean, I'm like, what the heck was wrong with this that we did it? I'm like, so the thing is, it's like, there was no reason, right? Like sometimes not sometimes, but we all find ourselves guilty of getting in our own way of things.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But finally, anyway, to say that that I did.
So you did actually go through the project. I remember correctly in a previous conversation, you said your boyfriend went through it first.
So I did Project Next. We both did Project Next. He jumped into Project Next Level and I jumped in with Maya.
Okay.
And then I jumped into Legacy Mastermind.
So it just was an amazing kind of.
It's right, exactly.
Ripple effect. Listen, I know that you authored a book, because you mentioned that, and it was a cookbook.
I did a cookbook and also a book. So a book that went with a cookbook. So it was all about healthy eating. The name of my book was Sleeping Naked After 40. So it was all about, like, it came to me one day in the car and I'm like, oh my God, it would be so nice if I could just like be so comfortable that I could be comfortable in my body, like that I could just sleep naked. And I'm like, Sleeping Naked After 40. Oh my God, that's a great title. So then I turned it into
so funny. Oh my God. And
right.
So did it sell well?
Yeah, it did really well. It would really be, because it's such a catchy title. So no matter where I went,
absolutely.
Like, and I went to a lot of networking groups. So now I would stand up and say, I'm sleeping naked after 40. People were like, oh my God, everyone had to talk to me because they wanted to know what that was about. But my book was Cooking Naked After 40. I had the Naked Truth and the Real Naked Deal card deck. So it was all the naked series, like about like showing up being your true naked self, right? Like who you truly are.
So is this the point at which you got into these? I want to take a good pause here because card decks. I mean,
Mm,
when I first heard about your card decks, I'm going, card decks. Now, when I think of a deck of cards, I think of playing duplicate bridge, which is what I do,
yeah,
or
right.
playing hand and foot canasta, which I do with
Yeah.
my family sometimes. What were you thinking? I mean,
Yeah.
card
So, so like most people will be familiar with like playing around the kitchen table with your parents,
right,
grandparents, friends, whatever, right? So whatever games you
right,
play with those cards. And then there's the people that are familiar with like oracle cards
like
or
tarot
tarot
cards. Yeah,
or angel cards, right?
right,
So
angel
people are
cards.
really familiar with that. But what I started to discover was, and it's the way my brain works, because even my cooking, even my coaching, and my boyfriend will call me like I'm a short order coach and a short order cook because I'm really healthy quick in the kitchen,
Hmm.
and my coaching is like really quick to the point. And so I kind of deliver those golden nuggets of information. And when my client had asked me back then, I wish you could be on my shoulder, whispering these like things in my ear. So I remember, I'm like, well, a deck of cards will do that because we have
Great
enough
idea.
information, we have enough knowledge, right?
Mhm.
And what do we really need? We need um, to implement. We need the next action because sometimes we're just like, oh my God, I don't think I could sit down and read more in a book or do a workbook. Like I want something easy because I'm stuck. Like, so I'm not going to
Mhm.
get unstuck by reading chapters, but maybe I'll get unstuck because like all that I'm capable of right now is like one golden nugget of something, a shift.
Right.
So I think
Makes
of
a
them like
difference.
a
Yeah.
reminder or a shift in the way you're thinking at that
Right.
moment that changes everything, right? So that's how that started. And then I went on to like my second deck was when a friend asked me when she was sick, she's like, oh, I wish I had something to help me in the morning when I wake up, to help my mind think a little bit better because my
Mhm.
mind is in the gutter. And so I'm like, okay. And then I created this, actually, I created this one, these this I am deck, which is
Wonderful.
like prayers and mantras. And it's all the I am, the power of I am.
Mhm.
So that and I started to then realize this is a teaching tool. And I got really into, when I created my course, and I had no idea that if I could even teach a person through a course. I really had no idea. So, like for all of you that think, "Oh, I never did a course. I don't know if I could teach people," you'll be really surprised that you definitely can. You
Yeah.
can. So,
Because you have
um,
the knowledge and expertise, so all you have to
right.
do is share it, really.
And you think that, like, because to me, I was like, well, why can't anyone? I don't understand why people can't make a card deck. Like, it came easy to me. But I've been
Yeah,
making products my whole life, so of course it was easy to me. And so the thing
exactly.
that comes easy to you is the thing you should teach, because if you think it's easy, there's tons of people out there that are like, oh my God, I wish I could do that. Right? Because we all have our gifts.
But
And
then, I have a client who, when she found out that I was going to talk to you, have this discussion with you, she wanted to know, well, how long does it take to create a deck, and what software
yeah,
is she using, and what company
yeah,
is, and so people go into, all of that when they
yeah,
go, because you're creating something.
yeah. So my course is, and this is what I had to figure out, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'll see how this goes. So my course is 6 modules, and then I do 6 live sessions because I knew what I liked when there was a course. So it's kind of like a program because the live sessions is me being your accountability guidance so
Mhm.
that we meet every other week so that there's time to implement. And that goes for a 3 month span. And people do finish in those 12, 13 weeks. Many
Right.
people finish, and then some people don't. But they have access to the modules to finish, but they'll have all the information they need. They've been able to ask me questions. They're in my community. Um, so you can get it done in
Mhm.
as short a time as that. And then again, there are some people that take longer. And my theory of a card deck is that the goal of it is for you to tap into your innate creative genius, because that is a shift for you also in your confidence and the clarity of what you're teaching.
Right.
So I like to help people, to inspire people to tap into their creativity and not say, well, I'm not that creative. Like don't buy into that. I'm like, yes,
Hmm.
you are, and yes, you can. And so that you create it by yourself with your energy from your heart, right? And so that's part of what makes my course different. And then like one of my training modules is on the design part, so
Hmm.
that you can design it. And I teach you 2 free tools, Pages on a Mac and in Canva. And so that's what it's
So,
been like,
so
amazing.
this is actually a course of how to create your own card deck, right?
So I take
And
you all the way from the idea
hmm.
through the printing, the packaging, the designing,
Hmm.
the content. So I said that all backwards. It goes in a different order, but all of it, like all of it,
Yeah,
from
right.
like your idea in your head to the cards in your hand, and all the things that go into that.
Huh. Very interesting. So, what's the point of all that for somebody? I mean, for example, if Christia wanted to take your course and she
Why does
took
she
it,
want a
did you?
card deck?
Well, it's I know that you know it's a great tool if you coach. And but could you tell us how many ways or a couple of ways of how different coaches can use
Yeah,
these
I sure.
for their clients?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
the simplest way is like, okay, so now I'm telling you that I have the card deck creation course that teaches you how to make a cards, right?
Right,
So
right.
one of my card decks, this one, it comes in this kind of a box. It says, what does it say? Your gift is meant to be shared. And the card deck that's in here it's called 50 Ways to Use Your Card Deck. So this deck has 50 ways on it to use a card deck. So like Facebook Live is one of them. What else we got here? A
Um, eh,
raffle.
Rosie, let me stop you there. How would you use the card? You know, you're talking. I'm trying to visualize. How would you use the card deck with Facebook Live, for example? You would just
Yeah.
take the.
So yeah,
Give
you
me an
take a card
example
and
of that.
so you
You
open up the screen. You're like, oh, what am I going to talk about on Facebook Live today?
okay? I see.
Shuffle
Yeah.
and pull a card, and then you're content directed. So you read the card, and then you can go deeper on that subject, like whatever it
Okay.
is, like whatever you're
Okay. Thank
teaching.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Absolutely.
so easy. So if you have 52 cards, you have 52 Facebook Lives you can do.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
it's like super cool, right?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and so there's other people like this is one of my students that made this card deck. It's called Social Balance, and these are so cute little cards. But you put these cards in a circle, and there's 6 different ways to do social media. So 6 different categories for what you would do a social media post on.
Uh-huh.
So she's a social media strategist. So this card deck becomes the tool for people to have their week of fresh new content and an idea of what to do with it.
That's
So that's
interesting.
like so cool,
Wow.
right?
It is so cool. That's such a great idea. I mean, it's so. I know that you kind of. I know that you just came back from your legacy mastermind with Dean Graziosi and Brendan and Maya, and so and even before that, I think you were featured, if I remember, with Dean, who picked you out of some. Yeah, and
Well,
you were
that's
featured in your
funny.
deck cards, and he was blown away. He thought,
Yeah.
"What a
I
unique tool this
mean,
was."
the funniest story. So Time to Thrive, I think there's one coming up. So it was the free class. And there's like, I don't know, like 840,000 people or something
Right?
insane, right? And so he gives homework. So one of the night's homework was he's like, sell me something. And so in the Facebook,
I
in
remember
the
that.
Facebook group. And I was like doing my bratty self. I'm like logically saying, well, why would I do that with 800? He's never even going to see it. What am I wasting my time for? So my boyfriend is like, you should do it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I mean, I think he said it like a couple times, like, you should do it. And I'm like, so I leave the house and then I'm like, fine, in my head, I'll pull over in the parking lot and I'll just film. So with no, like, I didn't have any preparation. And then I had no expectation. And I just took my phone and I said, Dean, I'm listening to all your quotes and they're so amazing. And like sometimes you just need to anchor in those like amazing thoughts about sales as service before you get on a phone call. Like you need a card deck. So people have this tool. And that was it. Right. So then that's the next day, right? He comes
Mhm.
on, says, I'm going to call a couple people out. He calls out a girl for a lipstick. He calls out someone else. And then he says, and Rosie Battista. And I was like, oh my God. And then my phone.
I was there and I heard it too.
Yes.
Like,
And I think you were one of the ones that texted me, and people are texting me, oh my God, Dean just called your name. And he's like, I really like that idea. I'm going to tell my team about it. So I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Anyway, I won't go into the whole story about it, but I will tell you here is Dean's card deck.
wow.
It's so elegantly gorgeous, isn't it?
Very elegant.
I'm going to pull one. I'm going to pull a card and read it. So how I made this card for Dean was by listening to all of these amazing things that he says about sales. And I just kept writing. And then I'm like, okay, I have 40 cards here. And then I turned his quote into an affirmation that, like, if I was going to repeat it, it would make me shift my thinking. Right. Because that's what we want to do. Like, before we get on a call, we don't want to say, oh my God, I'm so scared to sell. I don't know. How am I going to say the price? Yeah. Right. But what we want to say is something like, so here's one. So Dean's quote is, serve people where they need to be served, provide, or they will find someone who will. And then, So the affirmation is, I serve people where they need to be served. I end their struggle of searching for solutions from somewhere else. I mean, it's brilliant. I'll do one more because, okay. Dean says, understand your clients better than anyone. And so what's the affirmation? I understand my clients better than everyone.
I mean, it's so simple. It's right.
But when I say it like that, I understand my clients. Like, of course I understand my clients, because that means that I can provide them the solution. So they're just like, they're so fabulous. And when we went into Mastermind this week, he had ordered, them for everyone. And they were at the seats when we went in. And I was like,
oh my God, Rosie, how cool was that?
Yeah. Like, cause they're just, and everyone really love them. And it's funny because the idea that so I reached out to someone to make an appointment with someone afterwards. He goes, oh, the card deck's sitting right on my desk. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what you want as a coach. It's that someone has your thing sitting right on their desk, because it's so easily accessible. So as you were asking, why would a coach want one? It's because this thing is in your client's hands when you're not.
Exactly.
And they don't need to shove it away because it doesn't take up much space. And it's kind of interesting. I'm like, okay, let me see which one I could get now. You know what I mean? I persist until I succeed.
Wow. Yeah. It could be just the message that you need that day. We know how that goes.
And everybody, and really with cards, that is how it works. You're like, oh yeah, that's just what I needed. So that's the magic of them, and just really powerful, as you saw just a few of these examples. And I have some of my clients doing amazing things. Like, I'll just say this one person, she had her deck and then she created a course around her deck. And she got her course into the International Institute for Kinesiology. And it's an accredited course. When you take it, you're certified in using her card deck to heal people. Wow. I mean, I'm like, what? That is amazing. It's amazing. And when she came into my course, she had things on little pieces of paper, and she had her artwork over there and some paper here. And we pulled it all together to make this beautiful healing deck. Magic.
This can help so many people. It's unbelievable. It's it's out of the box creative excellence.
See, you're the best.
It's unbelievable. So Rosie, I know how busy you are, and I know that you just came back from your Legacy Mastermind. I'm so proud of you and so happy that you were there with Dean and Brendan and Maya.
Yeah.
We have so many coaches that I work with. If somebody wanted to contact you, what would be the best way that they could do that?
Yeah, so you can message me. I'm everywhere under my name. You can, and that's also my website, rosiebattista.com. So you can, thank you, Lucy. You can message me there. You can contact me, through my website. There's a contact page. You can email me at rosie@rosiebattista.com. So I'm everywhere at
Easy.
my name.
Rosie at rosiebattista.com.
Yeah, that's it.
All you have to
Yeah,
do is know how to spell Batista.
that's true.
Rosie's easy,
Two
but
T's.
Batista is
That's right. Right.
Batista
That's
dot
right. This is
com.
the Italian way. I
The
think with the one
Italian
T
way.
is the Spanish way. So yeah. So just think about
Very
that.
good, very good. All right, you know, I want some piece of advice for you because we have so many um, would be wannabe coaches
Mm.
who get stuck. You know, what advice would you give them to get them to, you
Mhm.
know, move that needle
So I would say that
other than get a deck of my, you know?
don't let your fears get in the way of someone else's joy. So that
No,
when you're
well
afraid
said.
to go and give your gift, that you are really holding back from someone else that can really benefit.
Right,
So, like, if you just do the little switch about like, oh my God, I'm so scared to like, oh my God, I could really help this person. Like,
right.
then you get out of your own nonsense. And, you have a gift for a reason, and it's not meant for you to keep it to yourself. You're supposed to give
Exactly.
your gifts, right? So, your gift is the thing that comes really easy to you. It's meant to be gifted. And so just step aside and like hand it over.
And you know what? And we're here to help you. You know, we are here
Yes.
to help you. There are tools to help you. You know, the Launch Lab is here to help you, and so you know, just call on us.
And you
That's
do a
all we
great job with that, Lucy, and really just helping people like, do the
have. Mhm.
implementable things to get out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Rosa. I'm so appreciative that you took the time today to be with us because you
Thank
had a
you.
very filled weekend. And I know that you're coming home on a high and, you know, God knows where this is all going. And I got goosebumps, you know, just
Thank
thinking
you, Lucy, so
about
much.
everything that can happen. And so we will talk some more. Now, everybody, you know how to contact Rosie. Her Facebook, you can go to rosie.batista.com and message her. And I'll put all
Instagram.
that information in a comment down below this video. So thank you, Rosie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank
time,
you,
sweetie.
Lucy. Thank you,
And
everybody.
thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being with us. And we'll tune in again next week and see you then. Bye for now.
Bye.